Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Hit Pause MCU. We've taken a long break, and I don't know when this will be uploaded because, as of recording this, we also recorded two gaming podcasts. You were on one of them. I didn't. I don't know if I told you we did record a podcast for the Blizzard or Activision Blizzard controversy stuff.
Right, yeah.
Which I don't think you're like fully caught up on. So I didn't know if you really had a lot to weigh in there. If you do, we can bring it up in the next podcast.
Sure. Yeah, I can I still want to watch that one so I can catch up on what you guys talked about.
Okay, cool. So so I'll be editing and then uploading that stuff. So who knows when this will go up? Hopefully I have a lot of time. I can just shove all that time on the weekend and get that uploaded. But we've been away for a very long time for this MCU podcast. And last we left off, we were about to watch the finale for What If. Now, Hawkeye has started streaming on Disney Plus. It's 3 episodes in as of recording this. We're not going to be talking about that on this podcast because Jordan has not caught up on the series yet. But there's a lot of Marvel news and updates since we've done the last podcast that we will be talking about here. So, I'm Til. I'm joined by Jordan once again.
What's going on, guys? Girls.
And we're going to jump back in where we left off. What did you think about... we're not going to go into the what if, then what situation we've been doing through this podcast. I just thought it would be a fun discussion topic since we know the movies so well. How we think those stories can continue. But as the series went on, I kind of got the hints like, well, they're going to have their own conclusion to these stories that are not exactly how we're discussing it, right? And that proved to be the case in the finale. So there's really no point of going through that, how we think the episode's going to continue because it was completely different from the rest of them. But what did you think of the finale?
I thoroughly enjoyed the finale. Thought it was a little lazy writing that Ultron beat Thanos with one Infinity
Oh, yeah.
Stone versus all of his, but
I feel like
the
everybody's hanging up on that. Yeah.
yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to get over, but I still enjoyed all of it. I had a question though too about it. I don't know if you knew. I mean, I guess it's not really a question, but when he who was it? Was it Morbius? No, not
Uh-huh.
Morbius. What's something different? What's
Yeah.
what's his name? The Watcher. When the Watcher
Watcher.
was going from place to place to get like heroes to
Mm-hmm.
fight against Ultron,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't he grab Tony? But he grabbed Gamora out of that one timeline. That one, I was like, why not just get as
Because
many people as possible?
he knew it was not going to work out if he did that.
I guess it was just weird that he got
He
that everyone always. This is weird that everyone keeps trusting Killmonger though. I love Killmonger; he's a sweet villain, but everyone keeps trusting Killmonger
well,
from all around.
I think he recruited Killmonger not only to help in the fight against Ultron, so he knew exactly how these characters' roles will play out.
Right.
So he knew like I need Killmonger in order for everything to go perfectly, and then by the end, he's going to be the one to take the stones out of Ultron and be fighting with Arnim Zola at the end with having the stones. Otherwise, Arnim Zola would have got the stones and then just recreated the multiverse in Hydra's image, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that's the reason why you got Killmonger specifically for that. By the way, the last episode you would have noticed that everything was blurred when we were doing our reaction videos. That's because we got immediately a copyright strike, which is hilarious. Just for me personally, I think like a decade of doing YouTube videos on copyrighted content. I think that's the first time I've ever had a copyright strike where it's just completely blocked everywhere. So that was just shocking to me, but not entirely because we are talking about a Disney property. So I guess it's not completely out of the question. But to help, because it is nice to have some sort of visual while we're talking, so we can have some sort of reaction. So I implemented a new feature into this podcast called the visual context rectangle. So you will have some sort of visual context on what we are talking about as we go through this podcast.
Amazing.
Yes. Um, so I feel like the Mind Stone or the like Thanos dying immediately is kind of your version of what I was talking about, where the show kind of loses me, where they just have such drastic personality changes from what we know from the movies. Because my thing was, and it's also related to Thanos, my thing was I just found it so unbelievable that Thanos's objectives would change in the second episode of What If.
Yeah.
That it took me out of the story there personally. So I feel like that was your version of that for me, was like Vision being able to, or Ultron being able to just kill Thanos immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was I didn't mind that. I thought it was like a cool like twist. And that's
Yeah.
something like I don't think Vision would have been like, "Oh, I can just immediately kill this guy." I don't think that's his character or that thought process, or he didn't even really understand what the Mind Stone does.
Right.
If you get that context from the what movie was it? I think it was Civil War, where he says, I don't really know what this does. I wish to understand it, and then one day I can control it instead of it controlling me," or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. I think I'm pretty sure he's talking to
Yeah,
Juan in Civil War when he's saying that. Yeah.
yeah. Whereas Ultron essentially created the Vision from his plans to use the Mind Stone, and he knew exactly what the Mind Stone was right away. When he was created, he was created from the Mind Stone, right? Because Tony Stark and Bruce Banner were trying to create an AI based off that stone. So he is essentially the Mind Stone. He knows what it is and what it's capable of, and why that was his mission specifically to use it.
Yeah.
So I feel like his character is a little bit more ruthless. He has a goal to just end all life, and
Right.
he knows what he's capable of. So I think it does make more sense that Ultron had the immediate thought on how to eliminate this threat and get more power, whereas Vision's a little bit more hesitant and um, just doesn't even have that thought in his head on how to handle the situation.
I found it hard to believe that he couldn't find Black Widow of all characters too. He couldn't find Black Widow.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sure.
Out of all characters that have actual abilities, Black Widow just has her like spy stealth and
she is like one of the best spies.
yeah. I guess it also shows like a lot to her character, but I just thought I was like, but he's really powerful though.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm really happy that episode gave us was Viva Las Vegas. I am so I'm so happy to watch Thor scream that, and now it's
Yeah.
just a thing that me and Jess do around the house. Like since then, and we just pretend we have hammers all the time and we scream "Viva Las Vegas." It's amazing. So that is one of my favorite things from the What If series that was given to us.
Do you think because there is going to be a season 2 of What If,
Right.
so it's good that we're getting that. I don't think the Ultron stuff is going to come back in season 2. I don't know. Do you think anything like this is going to be a continuation off anything?
Maybe we'll see more multi. Maybe we'll just see some of like maybe how it affected the multiverse. Maybe, but I think we're gonna see more. I feel like we're gonna see more Doctor Strange stuff,
Yeah.
and hopefully with new movies that come out. I don't know when What If is gonna. I don't know when it's gonna come out and what movies will be out in between there. But I'm hoping we're gonna see more stuff with like Adam Warlock and
Yeah.
maybe stuff from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, maybe some stuff with that has to do with the Eternals. So it's with this new year coming through with all these new movies, we're gonna see a lot more cool
Yeah.
ideas with what if, because I think there'd be a really cool stuff you could do with Shang-Chi for a what if
Mm.
episode.
I think I think we have some ideas based on like interviews and stuff. Um, but we know that Captain Carter is gonna play a pivotal role in season two. I imagine Doctor Strange will too, the more evil side of Doctor Strange. Um, and they did say like this season has been strictly on the Infinity Saga, so all the new stuff that we've seen throughout Phase 4 has not shown up in this series at all. So I imagine that would change for season 2, and I think I remember reading an interview saying where they were saying, yeah, they're going to explore newer characters that have been introduced into the Marvel universe. Um so I think that is something that they're going to look at.
Hmm.
I I don't the one thing I know that they're going to continue off of is Gamora's story, because there was that Gamora character that was just thrown into the finale where we didn't get any sort of history with her, or her timeline. I
Yeah, I
guess
believe
that
there's a
was a scrapped episode that they were going to include in the show, but they realized that it was as a story better saved for season 2, whatever that means.
yeah,
So,
that's what I saw when I saw the list. The
mhm.
last episode I saw was supposed to be called Gamora versus Tony. That's what I saw. The
Oh,
last episode was
versus.
supposed to be called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Gamora versus Tony, but I saw, but then the second last one was supposed to be Ultron, Infinite Ultron. That was supposed to be this
Mhm.
the second last one. So the fact that that was the last one, I assumed that it was gonna be a scrapped episode, and then because we saw her and she had Thanos's sword and his armor,
Mhm.
I assumed that that was going to be what was I going with this? I assumed that was going to be like something they're going to save for later because
Yeah.
it looked really cool to me. And then when the Watcher gets Tony, you only see you saw Tony there, and he was wearing like I think he was wearing Hive, not what's it called? Mixing video games with MCU.
Aim.
He was wearing um not the Hulk Buster. I think he was wearing the Hydra Buster.
Oh,
Is that
really?
what
From
was that this?
you know what? I didn't really pay attention. I know it looks like some armor. That's all I know. He was
Yeah.
in some suit of armor, but it was different
Yeah.
from his
Yeah.
normal stuff.
Right. I only watched it once. To me, it looked like as if, say, because it was this kind of stuff that Steve Rogers had, so it'd be something that
Mhm.
his dad would pass down to Tony. So I think it was the Hydra Buster armor, and then it was
Interesting.
had Gamora and Tony.
Yeah.
And so long ago since I watched that episode, but I think I could be totally wrong. I'm just going off my brain right now. I think it looked like they were on Net of Lair
Oh,
when she
okay.
picked him
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. I
Because they were. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It looked
Mhm.
like they were on Nidavellir, and I was like, Gamora's wearing Thanos' armor. She's got Thanos' sword.
Yeah.
Tony looks like he's wearing a different suit, which I was like just looking at it quickly. It looked like it was like his first Iron Man suit that
Yeah.
he built in the cave. So
Mhm.
I think my brain was just like, isn't that the Hydra Buster that we saw Steve Rogers wear?
Yeah.
So I think that's I think whatever story is going on there, I'm excited for that for season 2.
I I have a question about the zombies, and something I really don't think I've seen anybody talk about, because I do watch like these reaction breakdown videos and stuff on the Marvel stuff.
Right.
I don't. I was just thinking about this recently, um, and I don't remember being brought up. The zombies that fell through the portal when they were using them to attack Ultron, that came
Right.
from the zombie timeline. Um, so what fell through was a bunch of just random zombies and the zombie Scarlet Witch. Last we left off in that timeline, Scarlet Witch was fighting Hulk. Hulk didn't fall through that portal. Are we under
Yeah.
the assumption that Scarlet Witch killed the Hulk?
Man, I feel like I remember me and Jess talking about this, and I almost feel like me, you, and Matt brought it up. Did we not talk? Did we not bring that up or not? I could have
No,
swore.
Matt hasn't been on a podcast in a while, and I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to. I don't want to speak for him, but it was just based on conversations we've been having. I'm trying to get him on the podcast, so I'm just saying that for anybody who misses Matt.
I I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with she. I don't know if they'll really bring up any of the episodes from those, and I didn't read that comic book. I don't know if it's like the same the
It's
zombies one, or if
loosely
it's
based
just
off
kind of
the comic books. It's not like,
just loosely.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing about Scarlet Witch fighting the Hulk that I remember in the comics. Hulk did play a very important role in those comics. The Scarlet
right.
Witch, I don't even remember seeing her in those comics. So,
Yeah. Um, honestly, I don't know, because and Marvel is famous for bringing back characters. So
mhm.
for all we know, they probably didn't kill him off, and they could make an episode off of it. But if that's just a one-off episode, then I guess it's up to your interpretation. It
Yeah.
probably did, but I'd have to watch it again. Now I love the MCU. I love all the characters and seeing them come to life. And to be completely honest, I think the only reason why I even watched the what ifs though is only because some of the main actors voice them.
Oh,
So like
really?
I will, yeah, I will keep watching them if they're quick and simple like that. They're only
Mhm.
like 10 episode things, but like if this goes on for 10 seasons, I probably won't keep continue with it because I'm assuming more and more of these like main actors won't stick with them. Like
Okay.
I think I already heard um I think I just read something that Brie Larson was being replaced
Well, she
as
wasn't in the show at all.
uh
There was a different voice actor for Captain
oh,
Marvel.
okay. Yeah, because I read something that said Brie Larson is will no longer be Captain Marvel, and me and
No,
Jess
no,
were
no.
like,
Okay. So
yeah,
any news articles from We Got This Covered?
yeah,
Total bullshit. They're making
okay,
up clickbait headlines out of their ass, and I
yeah,
realized that I realized that a long time ago.
yeah. I don't know where I read this. I think I saw it on
Yeah.
Twitter, something trending on
A
Twitter.
lot
So
of legitimate like news places
yeah,
will source We Got This Covered as the basis of there's rumors that this is going to happen
yeah,
based on bullshit stories that they pull out. Do
yeah,
not trust We Got This Covered. So if you're looking
yeah,
at source, where's the source coming from? Oh, it's We Got This Covered, and they're and they're pulling sources out of nowhere or misinterpreting statements because there's like
yeah,
one quote. I remember they had one quote and everybody's saying like it was in regards to like Marvel TV shows being canon in the universe, and they're pulling a quote from Kevin Feige directly. So like this is exactly what he's saying word for word, and like okay, they didn't even say here's our interpretation of it, which was completely not at all what he said, but they're saying
mhm,
this means definitively that which he didn't say anything close to that. So I find a lot of news stories will pull from that original quote unquote article that they put out, which is just making shit up, just based on
yeah,
misinterpretations of what he said. So
yeah,
where I remember reading that where Brie Larson said or people are saying that she's no longer gonna be Captain Marvel. Total bullshit rumor came from We Got This Covered. Don't believe it.
well, yeah. So I read that, and
Yeah.
it said it's like I think one of the comics or something said it was or comments it said it's just part of the what if, and me and Jess were like, who cares? I don't even think she was the voice of what if, so we're like,
Yeah, she wasn't.
whatever, and we just disregard that. Obviously, if there was like if Brie Larson would have to say something super like controversial for her to probably be kicked out of being Captain Marvel, or because there's no way she's just gonna be back out of that for something else. So obviously
Mm,
that would be news everywhere and probably on Marvel if they found a new replacement
yeah.
for any sort of actor. Like if they were gonna have a new Tony Stark, that would be like not a just a little sub comment thing to click on. So
Yeah, exactly. I was going to bring up the other part of that zombies thing where the Wasp was not part of that portal that went through because she was in that area.
oh yeah,
So what happened to the Wasp? But I will leave that because so just going back to your point. So, what did you think about the series overall? Because it sounds like you weren't a fan of this in general.
Well, where I was going was I was me and I wasn't I should say this. I wasn't. I love Marvel. I love the characters. The only reason why I watched this was to kind of get in like more information on some characters I wouldn't normally know,
Oh, okay.
and then I knew that a lot of the voice actors were coming back to do it, and
Mm,
then there was only some, like mostly me knowing that T'Challa, no, what's his name, Chadwick Boseman, it was like the last thing he did as Black Panther, so I was like, well, I'm watching that, and I just kept watching him.
yeah.
Um, I didn't think it was gonna be something I really enjoyed, and I just kind of did it because I was like, well, I'll watch a season, we'll see. I now after watching that season, like how it was like not just a different episode every season, like it was, but there was like a background story with like because it was the Watcher talking
Hmm.
about each one, and then it broke. Like I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it broke the
Well, this is a spoiler podcast, so this.
I know it's a spoiler
Yeah.
podcast, but I try not
Go
to talk
ahead.
about like everything. But there is like an overall like story between the Watcher and Doctor Strange that bleeds in through each episode.
Hmm.
Uh, so like now I'm excited for next season. And me and my girlfriend will watch it. We're just it just depends because if it starts to each season less and less of the main people are playing it, and it's just a bunch of extra voice actors playing the characters, I won't be as enticed to watch it. But
Hmm.
um, I don't know. For the most part, the way they did it, all of the scenes are stuff from the Marvel universe. Like it was like a specific scene, and then how it was
Hmm.
changed in a different way. And so I was like, oh, that makes me want to watch it. I want to see it go that different way. It wasn't like Tony Stark grew up with I don't know, you know, it wasn't like changed from there. It was changed from a certain moment that we've seen. It wasn't like
Yeah.
you know. So I think I'll definitely keep watching it. I'm excited to see where
Yeah.
it goes, and especially that now that they hinted at this episode and then scrapped it for next season, like it's a good way for me to be like, well, I want this, I want to see that now, and now I have to go back. So anybody who wasn't really like into like anybody who wasn't really like I don't want to watch the animation version. I just want to watch my live action. Now that kind of gives them something to kind of want to go back. But I know there's always going to be hardcore fans who love the comic books who are going to watch this for sure. So
Well, I'm a fan of comic books. I did read some What If comics. I think in general they're an interesting take on stories you already know. But like I've never like gravitated towards the What If comics unless there's like some major like cool character that only exists in that universe, like Spider Girl or something like that. Um, but yeah, but I was very familiar with What If comics, so this announcement of the show really excited me. And the fact that it was animation excited me too because I want to see more Marvel, like good Marvel animation. There's not like when you look at the competition, what Warner Brothers does with the DC characters, they just knock it out of the park, like taking stories from the comics and then realizing them in a big like animated feature, and they're mostly like really good stories that you want to watch. Marvel doesn't really have that sort of same aspect to it. They will kind of like pick and choose elements from the comics and make some like really weird uh, animated movie out of it or TV show, and I never really felt like a lot of them served any sort of purpose. Like why is this a thing? But basing this off the MCU, I thought it was a great idea, especially because they focused on a lot of characters that didn't get, in my opinion, a lot of screen time or deserved um you know like being fleshed out in the movies and stuff, and we saw a lot of that in the show. Like even Howard the Duck, I felt like got a better
right,
representation in this series than in the movies, which was relegated to just brief cameos in two movies. And the Collector, I thought we were going to get a lot of stuff about the Collector in the movies, and that just abruptly ended in the very few movies we've seen him in. So I thought this was really well done. I know a lot of people had issues with the animation. I thought the choice to use this 3D style animation specifically for the lighting, and the characters' faces and all that stuff, I thought lent very well to familiarizing audiences with what we know from the MCU scenes and stuff like that, to make it look more cinematic in a familiar way. So
Mhm.
I thought the animation was well done. The voice acting, for the most part, was well done. I think some of the original voice actors. I know you look forward to having the original voice actors play the roles, but I felt like some actors, like Sebastian Stan, great for live action. For animation, I don't know if it's the best choice. But I think overall, I really like the show. I do have my nitpicks about it. But I'm hoping this is a stepping off point for more Marvel animated stuff, and it seems like it will be, because that is a future, that is a topic that we will get into soon later in the podcast. Um,
Yeah. I liked. I don't want to say I didn't like the people who did the voice acting. I don't want
mm,
to say that. I just kind of watched it because it was cool to see some of the characters who may have been killed off. It was cool to see them reprise their role again or
mhm.
continue it. It was really nice. I didn't really notice Sebastian Stan voice acting being off or anything, but he I know he is very like good at facial features like when he's on camera. So he is really good when you're like
Mm.
you make him buy that, and like I'm pretty sure he made Jess cry like 100 times um in the Falcon and Winter Soldier just from him just being all
Oh yeah,
hurt and
for
stuff.
sure.
And
Yeah,
so he's
he's a
just
great actor. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just saying for
right.
voice acting, I don't know if he's done any other voice acting.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually can't even remember him in the
he was
what if.
he was in a few episodes. So he was in the first one with Captain Carter, where I think a lot of it was just bad writing, where it was just like he just had the really bad like one liners
Yeah.
that came up, and it was always, I remember I was watching with my brother, and so ever since WandaVision happened, because we've been like quarantined and all that stuff, we've been streaming through the group watch feature through Disney Plus. And I remember he texted me, it was either him or my cousin actually. One of them texted me, why is he always talking about fish? Because all of his one liners involve fish.
Yeah.
And it was a very like a kid's show kind of um reoccurring joke in the episode, which I didn't think was great, but I don't know. It also felt like his voice acting was just, it didn't match his live action
Right.
stuff that I've
Yeah.
seen.
I
But
I will say Tony, the guy who did Tony Stark,
mhm.
he did an amazing job
Oh
playing
yeah,
Tony. I thought his was like
for
just for a
sure.
while. She's like, "Are you sure that's not actually Robert Downey Jr.?" I was like, "That's it's not Robert Downey Jr." But it is. It was good. It was different, so I could tell it wasn't Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly similar, but just I felt it felt like a Tony Stark, but it didn't feel like our Tony Stark. So I
He
bought
had
it
his
really well.
mannerisms, and like he definitely played the part of Tony Stark for sure. But he did,
Yeah.
I don't think he sounded exactly like Robert Downey Jr. He had the same sort of like inflections and stuff like that, but you can tell it was a different voice actor.
Yeah, I thought he portrayed Tony Stark phenomenally, and without like stepping on Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr.'s toes. Like I didn't feel like it
Mm.
was like copying his work. I thought it was like that is you are doing Tony Stark, but you are doing it like in your own way and still somehow similar. So I thought it was really good. I also really enjoyed um, just what they did with Captain Carter because she wasn't really like a huge part of the MCU. She had like her couple cool moments in the first Avenger,
Hmm.
but other than that, she's mostly just been talked about or mentioned or
Well, she's had a one shot and a maybe canon, maybe not 2 season show.
okay, yeah.
So
Uh, oh yeah, I didn't watch those, so I didn't get it. Is that part of Agent Carter?
yeah, Agent Carter. So
Yeah.
there's an Agent Carter one shot, which is canon to the MCU because
Yeah.
they played it as part of like a recap video, like it was the official Marvel recap.
Right.
And one of the characters in um the episode for What If was from that one shot. And then the show, which was a Marvel TV show for ABC that was somewhat of a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was really a spin-off of like a continuation of that one shot. But since it's a Marvel TV show, people are thinking it's in the air whether it's still part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or not.
Yeah, I did not watch that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain Carter aren't something I got into, but it was cool watching her being like the female Captain America, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
or like the Captain Carter. It was just cool. It was very sweet. It was cool that her shield had the British symbol on
The
it.
Union Jack.
Ninja. Yeah, it was very
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Well, those are thoughts on What If. Finally came to a close for this podcast, and we will be getting more in season 2. But we've been focusing so much on What If, and we haven't talked about previous Phase 4 stuff that's come out or anything. We're not going to do that today because there's so much new Marvel stuff. Man, it just doesn't stop. We're getting this train going. It's nonstop from here.
It
So
is.
yeah. So let's talk about the next thing that we've like most recently seen. Bringing up the visual context rectangle. So you saw Shang-Chi, right?
Loved it. It's fantastic.
It is a great movie. I loved it too. I don't even know where to begin with this. I've been looking forward to this movie ever since the first like teaser, even the announcement, because I wasn't like I'm not a reader of the Shang-Chi comics, but I am aware of the character from crossover stuff such as the Avengers, Spider-Man, and when they announced that movie, I'm like, that's a cool character. That would make a great movie. And yeah, they did really well with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta say, I went into this thinking I was like, it's probably gonna be a really good movie,
Mm-hmm.
and like I was like, it's probably gonna be a really good movie, but I'll probably just be like, yeah, it was good. I liked it. Like it was. I'll know it was a good movie, but I'll be like, it was just okay. Like I liked it, but like not enough to watch it like 100 times, like I have with all the other MCU movies. And this movie easily, I was just like, I love it. It was probably like in my top
Yeah.
6 favorite MCU movies now, and I was like. I was before we even watched trailers. I was like, "How do you make rings cool? Like, what's so cool about some
Oh man,
rings?"
they
Like,
made him a lot cooler in the comics because they were
yeah.
actually like rings on your fingers.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, and they're
Oh,
like, oh, that's
hand
too
rings.
much like the Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. Let's change it to make him
Yeah,
more, iconic to Chinese culture. There is some like background into like where the inspiration from the rings came from for the movies. I'm not well versed in all that stuff, so I'm not the one to talk about it. But I think they made him a lot cooler in the movie than they are in the comics.
oh, hands down. I went
Yeah.
in going like, "How cool are rings gonna be?" And I honestly assumed it was something about rings, and I thought the same thing. I was like, "Isn't that just gonna be sort of like Lord of the Rings, sort of like gauntlet style thing,
Hmm.
where each ring has a different whatever?"
Yeah.
No, I was immensely wrong. Like I watched the trailer, just the trailer alone. I was like, those are some badass looking rings. And then
Yeah.
after watching the movie, the rings are now one of my favorite weapons to watch, and like probably my top 5 favorite weapons. Like around watching like Stormbreaker and like the Iron Man suit and stuff. Like I love the rings. I think they're so cool.
Now again, this is a totally a spoiler podcast.
Yeah.
We're spoiling all of the movie. The ending with the dragon, where he used the rings like in a circle.
Oh, just to
This is
stir his
badass.
guts up, just stir his guts right up.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna put all these 10 rings. You
Yeah.
wear 5 on one arm, 5 on the other. I'm gonna put all these rings in your throat. I'm gonna like control them inside your body, and then I'm just gonna pull them all out. Like, just see you later. Like that
Yeah.
was amazing. It was amazing. It was awesome. And then like I thought they were gonna be something like you could shoot with them and whatnot.
Hmm.
I didn't know you could actually like physically control them in the air, and you could use them to um kind of like how Doctor Strange has artifacts in the what are they called? Top of my head.
I'm not too sure. Artifacts?
What are okay? So you know how he has his cloak.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you remember in Doctor Strange, his buddy had those boots that allowed him to like walk in the air?
yeah.
Yeah, you can do that with the rings. The guy like threw the rings, he was controlling them, and he was like walking off of his rings in midair. And I was like, didn't know you could do that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It was basically like kind of like flying because you could just control the rings and walk on them through the air. And then you could like put them all in your arm. Like me and my coworker were like, this is sweet. Like you could blast them off the ground and launch yourself into the air, like how the Hulk just jumps out of nowhere. I
Yeah.
was like that. I was like that is amazing. They're so cool. They're
And
visually.
we don't even know the full backstory of the rings here either, because by the end credits, Wong and Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner are there talking about like, oh, they sent out a signal to something, and they have this huge history that they don't even know, like that it predates anything, right? So we don't even know the full story of the rings, and it sounds like they're probably going to be used for something in the future, and whatever phase 4 in the future is going to be. So it looks like these rings are going to be some sort of pivotal thing in future movies.
The first thing I mean, okay, we gotta remind me. We gotta get back onto the Hulk thing because when we saw Hulk, he
Yeah.
well, let's spoil the podcast. He wasn't after the last time we saw Hulk was
Mm-hmm.
Endgame. He
Yep.
was Professor Hulk
Mm-hmm.
or Smart Hulk, whatever you want to call him, and he was a combination of both Bruce Banner and Hulk. At the end of Shang-Chi, he is Bruce Banner again. So I don't know if he found a way to switch between both or if he just reverted back. We don't know this, and that is just a slap in the face to leave us with at the end of that movie because I was like,
Mm-hmm. It's the
that's
Marvel way.
that alone was already something that slapped me in the face, along with the rings, because the rings, like you said, they are sending a signal to something.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, Shang-Chi's father had the rings prior to, and he was using them for
And he
what I
found
want to
them,
say.
right? He found the rings.
Right, and he's had these rings for what, over 1,000 years,
Yeah.
because another perk to the rings is they make you immortal to the wearer, which is amazing, right? There's no
Yeah.
like expiry date for how long you live. You just live.
I don't think so.
So I don't know if you cannot die while wearing the rings, or it just means while you're wearing them, you just won't die. But I wonder if you can still die wearing them. Like if you can still be like you can still kill
Well,
him.
his father died wearing them, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, technically, his son had them on or not on.
Yeah,
They
but
weren't on.
he was dying, so he gave him to his son.
Right. True. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So I guess you can die. So they either way, they're not. I don't know if they're as strong as like say Stormbreaker, because
Mm-hmm.
clearly just a human can wield them, whereas a human cannot just wield Stormbreaker or Mjolnir. But
I think. Well, I
yeah,
mean, like I don't know. Like will Thanos grab Stormbreaker? Like you couldn't lift Mjolnir because you have to be worthy to hold that. I think anybody can hold Stormbreaker.
anybody can. But there was that part where Thor says, um, is like he makes a weapon that's like a god killing kind, and then
Yeah, you
uh,
couldn't like use the thunder or wield it, I
yeah,
guess. But
I don't think you'd get the thunder. I don't think you'd get the Asgard or the Bifrost part
mm-hmm.
because that's all Father's stuff that pertains to Thor.
Yeah,
But to literally hold the weapon, I don't think like Tony Stark could pick it up because like he said, it has to be like a god type weapon. So I think he said that your body would crumble and your mind would descend into madness if you picked it up. That's
yeah,
what Thor said. So I don't know if that means Tony Stark like literally would like as he's trying to hold it would literally like crumple trying to like I don't know. I don't know about that, but I where was I going with this?
I
Back
don't
to the
know.
rings. I don't think they're as like any. I think anybody can wear them, but it makes
Mm-hmm.
the wearer immortal, which is amazing perk. Um, so that aside, his dad had those rings for over 1,000 years or so. I don't remember the exact amount of years.
Yeah.
But when it wasn't until his son used them that the rings changed from blue to like a gold color,
Mm-hmm.
and now it was once Shang-Chi used them that they started sending a beacon. So I don't know what it is that pertained to Shang-Chi that made the beacon go off, but I thought that was like that's my I think with all the stuff coming in the MCU, that is like
Yeah.
the number one, that post credit scene had some of the like the most slap in the face stuff ever, because there's so much I don't know.
In yeah, and I'm trying to think like what I know from the comics which this can pertain to. I don't know. Um the thing I can think of like what it could be signaling, maybe some sort of celestial, maybe Galactus. I have no idea. I doubt it's any of that. But I don't know. Who knows?
Dude,
Um
what makes you think Galactus? Because for whatever reason, I was like, I hope those are signaling Galactus. I said that when I watched it, and I don't know why, but I thought of that too. And I want to know what makes you think that, because like that's weird that we both thought that.
just as um a cosmic being that does get drawn to Earth. I
Yeah,
don't really have any sort of relation to that. Like I said, I don't think that's what it is because I don't see any sort of relation to that. But
yeah, same.
that's just the only thing I can think of. Like if anything, like maybe the rings belong to Galactus in some way, and he like sends them out to different planets.
Yeah,
And if there's like, um, if they're signaled out, it's evidence that there's life on a planet that he needs to go to in order to
consume.
feed consume his hunger, right? Um, that's just like a loose theory, so I don't actually think that's the case.
I mean, I don't think it is either, but it's weird that we both thought that, because I was like,
I
I hope those things are like,
think we
you
just
know,
really
they,
want to see Galactus.
if we do, and I know like a ton of people want to see, we want to see Galactus done right, is what we
Yes.
want to
Yeah.
see. But
Uh,
the rings, just like looking at there, like we're just watching them. They are so cool to watch, and the different ways you can use them is there. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to go see it, and
yeah.
it's
Well,
weapons are
hopefully you've seen the
fantastic.
movie before listening to this podcast, because, like I said, it is a spoiler podcast, and there's a lot more
Uh,
I want to talk about on this movie here.
yeah.
First of all, being like I'm watching the trailer back through our visual context rectangle, and
Hmm.
just some stuff just keeps coming back. First of all, that bus scene and just the choreography in general, was just badass. I love that bus scene. Like I could probably
Just
watch that over and over again.
yeah, my coworkers all loved it too, and just all of us talking about it made us all want to just watch it. And we just pulled out our phones and like played it on Disney Plus. So like
Yeah.
it is a phenomenal scene too. It's really good.
But also, okay, let's go back to the Hulk thing. And I don't even think there's anything more that we can say right now at the moment. It's just we ended Hulk with he was in Hulk form, like
Yeah,
a smart Hulk form, and in this movie, which takes place, I think, soon after the blip. When there's no real context to this, just that it happened after the blip. There is like some references to the blip in the movie, but I don't think it really explains like how long after the blip this movie
hmm
takes place. But
I think the only mention I remember is she said something about we live on a planet where half the population could disappear.
there was
Uh,
also
it,
an Easter egg in the background for a blip dating app.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
if you've been blipped, there's an app
dude,
to find other people.
that's what an amazing thing to put in the back, because that's
Yeah.
smart, right? Like
Kevin
so people.
Feige said it's one of his favorite references to the blip in a movie so far.
It's super smart, because like
Yeah.
that's people who were um they're now, their birthday is this day, but they are technically now 5 years younger. So
Yeah.
they're like, we kind of need to match up with people our own age who are now not been dating for, or people may have moved on
Hmm.
without them. Oh, that's what a terrible thing to think about, though. Like
Yeah.
you come back and like your family's moved on, or oh, just what a mess. What a mess Thanos has created for us now. And even like for me, I'm annoyed because like it used to line up with our time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it happened, like Avengers happened in 2012, and then they knew it
There
was
there
2012.
there
Now
was
we're
some fluctuation with that stuff
yeah,
set a little bit in the past, a little bit in the future.
right,
But yeah, like things there is like a Marvel timeline that has changed from movie to movie to fit the story that they're trying to tell for a new movie. And then
right.
they just kind of retcon earlier stuff to fit in that new timeline. But there is sort of a definitive Marvel timeline, and they have to fit the movies within that. So it doesn't
Yeah.
always go on our current, time. So yeah,
Right.
we gotta kind of remember that when we watch these movies. Um,
And I have something that I thought of that I don't know if it was actually explained at all. But you know how when we met Wong, he was kind of like by the book, protect the sanctum, protect the stone,
mhm.
stonekeeper, all that. Now, do you think he was always part of this um fighting ring, this like back alley fighting ring or whatever, or do you think that's something that he joined when half the universe was snapped away? Because I don't know if Wong was snapped away or not. I don't remember.
He was.
He was?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know. When did they explain? Did they say when
I
though?
think
Like,
there's a reference to it in Endgame, but there is like a list of Marvel characters that have been
okay,
blipped.
because I was
I'm pretty
I
sure Wong is one of them.
okay, because I was if he's not, I was wondering if it was something without with the stone being gone, with
Mhm.
probably a lot of sorcerers being gone, the sorcerer supreme's gone. I thought it was maybe something where he was like, I don't know. I have no one to listen to. I have no like, guideline to follow. The world's kind of quiet. So I thought this was just something he did in the side. He got kind of like the bad side of Wong. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was maybe somewhere that was going.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't like we don't know Wong's full backstory.
mhm.
But it from what we can gather in the movie, he he knows Abomination, calls him by his actual name, Emil.
Right.
Um, and it looks like they've been doing this a while. They've been doing this fighting thing a while. So he's like training him for something.
Yeah.
I don't fully know. Like that's a little bit weird. Um, but just the fact that he's some sort of partner with Bruce Banner, and he's also training Abomination, and them two were at each other's throats trying to kill each other in Harlem. It's interesting to see
Yeah.
he's kind of on both sides of those characters. But did they have some sort of like
I didn't even think of
agreement,
that.
or um you know sort of
Like a
apologizing
truce.
to each other or something, and they're settled their differences or anything like that?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the guy who played Abomination before he changed. He seems like the kind of guy who would not accept an apology. But now that he's Abomination, he's stuck the way he is. Probably doesn't have a lot of friends. The only person he could probably relate to is Hulk. I feel
Mm,
like he's probably not like on the top. They probably I don't know. I feel like there's like some sort of like a truce or like an understanding, and it was just like
yeah,
a business thing. So I feel like, or like it wasn't personal. It was just you know so
now,
I feel like there's no bad blood, I don't think,
yeah.
but I have no idea. We haven't seen anything new, so
Last we saw of Abomination, just canonically, um, he is in this is actually off camera. He's in a cryo cell that Shield operates, which I think is mentioned more in the comics, and it was brought up in the Agents of Shield TV show, which again may or may not be canon to the Marvel universe. But the fact that that's where he was is canon. We don't know what happened in between that time. We do know that Shield fell after uh,
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. So maybe I don't know what happened to Abomination after that happened, because Shield wasn't a thing to like keep an eye on him anymore. Um, so maybe he went to maybe like General Ross was back in charge of handling him.
Right.
But yeah, it's just I feel like now this is a character that we know for sure. This is probably gonna be a spoiler for you. But it was officially announced when they announced the TV shows coming up. Um, Abomination is gonna be in a future TV show for Disney Plus, so we will see more of him. So hopefully we will get more of that backstory.
Right.
Um, So yeah, the other thing I want to bring up, Aquafina plays Katie. I love that character. I thought she was really
Yeah.
funny. Um, so I'm glad we'll probably be seeing more of her.
Uh,
Um,
I don't know much of Aquafina, but the thing I think only two things I've seen her in was Jumanji 2
oh yeah.
and Shang-Chi,
Hmm.
and I thought she's hilarious in both. So she's a very fun actress to have on as well. So um, I even if there's even like the smallest thing to tell you to go watch Shang-Chi, it would just be for the karaoke scene and those. So just those alone are already make the movie worth it. So
And oh yeah,
um,
the one other thing I wanted to bring up in the fighting area, we did see some interesting characters that are references to previous movies. One, we did see a Black Widow fighting what looked like a person who went under was what's the thing called in the Iron Man 3? Um
oh, uh,
I know the comic in my head, but for some reason I'm blanking on it right now.
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
The stuff that makes you regrow your limbs and really
Yeah.
fiery.
Yeah,
They're in
so
like a containment cell. I told the same thing. I said the same thing. I was like, bro, that chick's like the chick from like. I was like, why is that chick glowing? There's no need for her to be glowing without
yeah,
telling us. It has to be a something that callback to Iron Man 3, which this movie already had.
with the
Um,
10 rings and the Mandarin, yeah.
the Mandarin already, and the fake Mandarin guy had already had.
Mhm.
Uh, already had that. What? Uh,
Yeah. I know. But there was a Black Widow there too, so like obviously yeah, this takes place after Black Widow movie for sure.
yeah.
I think there was one other character reference in that fighting area. Was it like an alien or something that was fighting? I don't remember. Um,
There was there was something that was that I do remember. I can't remember off the top of my
mhm.
head, but I know you're
But
right.
if you watch the
Man, I wish.
movie again, like pay attention to who's in that scene because I
Mhm.
think like it kind of paints a bigger picture of like the universe and where this is set and I don't know what we might see of those characters in the future. Um, so I thought that was interesting.
Mhm.
Extremis.
Extremis, thank you. Yes, I was sitting here looking it up. Iron Man 3 weapon, and they just kept saying the Mark 5 is or whatever suit he
Yeah,
was wearing. And I'm like, no, not Iron Man's weapon. The villain weapon in Iron Man 3. Yeah, they Extremis. Yeah, and that's from AIM, right?
that no, so Iron Man well yeah, so AIM makes it well my Hansen makes it in the movies, but in the comics I think it was Iron Man that was the creator of it.
So who is the Mandarin? Is the Mandarin Shang-Chi's dad?
Yeah.
Is that who the Mandarin is? So then that's what I don't that's what I'm having trouble like understanding with this because they had the fake Mandarin in Iron Man,
Yeah.
and then Gideon, what's his I forget his name, the bad guy who
Yeah.
fixed
Hmm.
himself with the stuff you just said that I already forgot the name of.
Yeah.
Uh,
Extremis.
Extremis. He
Hmm.
used that to fix him. He's like, I am the Mandarin. And then the guy in another thing, he's like, I've been known as many names. And he says the Mandarin. I'm like, who the fuck is the Mandarin
They
then? Like,
appropriated his name to create like they thought it was like a fictional um myth or something.
yeah.
And they used that to paint a fake story
Hmm.
as a terrorist to like get their way
Yeah.
and work on extremists and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what the Mandarin is a iconic Iron Man villain that and I'm not huge in the Iron Man comics or very familiar with Mandarin. I'm going based off like some reading stuff and visual explanation of this character. So I'm probably getting some of the stuff wrong. So he was a fan requested character that's been hinted at just the Ten Rings reference in general since the first Iron Man movie. A lot of people thought that's what it was leading to, and maybe Jon Favreau had that idea in mind for the third movie. But then he let what's the director's name? Shane Black, direct the third movie. And I think he just wanted that twist, like people expecting the Mandarin,
Yeah.
and probably realize, hey, maybe whitewashing this character is not a great idea. So let's not make him the actual Mandarin and have the twist where he's just an actor portraying the Mandarin and leaving
Yeah.
that idea available in the future. Um, I don't know if that was originally intended to be the case, or if that was just Marvel responding to the backlash on both fans like saying, "Oh, the Mandarin in this universe is just a actor," or was portrayed by a non-Asian actor, um, where they had that one shot that explains for what happened to that character in between Shang-Chi and Iron Man 3. So I
Mhm.
don't know if you saw All Hail the King, which shows
Yeah.
what happens to that character in between. I would recommend watching it. I actually, in our MCU binge watch, I made my brother watch this. I'm like, we have to watch this before Shang-Chi. So you know what happened with Trevor Slattery.
Right.
And there's some funny end credits or mid credit stuff with that short as well. Um, so I definitely recommend watching that. It is available on Disney Plus now, so a lot of the one shots are coming up to Disney Plus. Not all of them are there, but I think they will
Right.
slowly appear on Disney Plus when it's relevant. So when Shang-Chi came out, that's when they put out All Hail the King. Um, I think they put out Agent Carter before um, the What If. So a lot of those other ones, they'll probably release those going forward in the because they were like DVD extras, but now they're kind of essential to backstories for some of the characters when they need to be. Um, but yeah, so then Marvel just said, you know what, we need to do this character justice, so let's set a new backstory for him because the original backstory in the comics was a not only a legal nightmare for character rights because they took character rights from another company that now that they don't have the rights to anymore, so they had to
Mhm.
reinvent the character, but also has a very racist background, so they had to do a lot of changes for this movie to invent a new Mandarin that I think they did a really good job with. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely better. I enjoyed it a lot. It
Yeah.
was I I don't know what to compare it to, but I thought it was like I guess in my opinion, like I know some of the favorites are like Thor Ragnarok and Winter Soldier. I'd put it in there with that. I enjoyed those. I enjoyed this one a lot and just visually stunning too.
Um. So after that, uh, I'm just going based on like what tab. I'm going in order of what tabs I have open here. But we had Disney Plus Day, which was a bunch of showcases for future Marvel stuff, as well as announcements of some future projects, specifically for Disney Plus, though. Not so much of the movies, but for the TV shows. But for the first thing, we do get finally our first look at Moon Knight, and this is one that I've been excited for. And I don't think you watched the Disney Plus Day announcements, right? Did you see any of them?
I did not know. I've been pretty busy this week, but I do now. I'm excited to go show Jess the like these and the trailer I just watched prior to this.
Yeah. Um, but Moon Knight has always been so I'm not really again, this is another character where I know mostly through crossover comics. Particularly the Ultimate Comics, which I think has a slightly different take on the character. But I've seen Moon Knight appear in video games and other media, and I have sort of an understanding of the character's story.
Mhm.
Where when I first learned about it and read up on it, the first thing I thought of was this character would be great for a movie.
Hmm.
So it's always been something I wanted to see, even though I'm not like a huge fan of the comics or was really invested in the comics. I did try to get into a Moon Knight comic and I couldn't do it. But I thought the concept for the character would make a really good movie, and they're putting it into a TV show, which I think might be even better. Like
So Moon Knight's gonna be a TV show, not a movie.
it's a TV show, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I can get. I like. I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy that. I think was now. I'm just saying this because was Moon Knight in Ultimate Alliance?
yes,
Because I think that's the only thing I know of him is what
I
I've
don't
played with
remember
him.
if he's in the new one, but he was in the old one.
I definitely played with him in some video game form. I don't remember when or whatever. Is he ever in DC? In the
No,
DC?
you are thinking
No,
of Batman.
no. I know there is a character in Batman that is very in the Arkham City one where you meet somebody who reminds me a lot of Moon Knight, and I cannot remember the name.
Visually, or
Yeah, visually, like he
so
looks
Moon
like
Knight
him.
dresses in all white, so he's kind of like the opposite of Batman in that way, where Batman lurks in the shadows, he
Oh,
operates in the dark. Moon
his name
Knight,
starts. His name starts with an A. It's like Azazel or something. Let me just
well,
tell you.
Azazel is a Marvel character, is a mutant, Brotherhood of
Mm,
Mutants.
I am. I got to figure what this is.
He is a demon and a pirate, and the father of Nightcrawler. So, but Moon Knight dresses in all white because he wants his enemies to see him coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the opposite of Batman. I don't know if you know much about Moon Knight. I don't know. I don't fully know much about Moon Knight. The one thing which you kind of get a sense for in this trailer is that he has split personalities. Um, and there is mystical elements to the character as well, maybe, or they might be delusions. But just that fact alone, that it's a superhero with a split personality, I think is such a cool concept. Um,
Yeah. I
so
was thinking of as Azrael or as I think it's Azrael. So that's what I was thinking
Azrael.
of in the DC universe. He is also in mostly white, and I
Mhm.
think he also is like a vigilante type. I don't know. Does Moon Knight have powers?
Um, that's a tough question to answer, and
I don't know his powers.
I, if you want to say he does, um, and what exactly those powers are, I'm not too sure. I know he has some abilities,
Okay.
but I again I'm not 100% familiar with the character, and I don't know what kind of interpretation they're doing for the show. So
Sure.
I'm just gonna go in and just enjoy the show because I've been looking for it.
Yeah.
It's starring Oscar Isaac, so I think that's a great casting choice. So definitely looking forward to that. We got a lot of other announcements from Disney Plus Day. One that I'm also very excited for is She-Hulk. Um, and this has been a character I find interesting for just a rights perspective because I think it's either Paramount or Universal. I can't remember. That actually owns the movie rights to Hulk, which is why we haven't seen a solo Hulk movie in a long time.
Right.
And he has to be in like team up movies and stuff like that now. I think. I mean, this isn't a Hulk show. Hulk is in this show, and to the point of Shang-Chi, this is seemingly taking place before Shang-Chi. No, wait, or is it after Shang-Chi? I think this is taking place after. It is after Shang-Chi because Hulk is in here as Smart Hulk without his cast. So his arm is healed, but he's back into Hulk form. Whereas in Shang-Chi, he has his arm was still busted up, but he was in Bruce Banner form.
Yeah, his arm. He's in this one. Did you say? You say Bruce
Yeah,
Banner's in this?
yeah, he's in this. Yeah,
And he's in which form?
he's in Hulk form.
Maybe we just going back and forth. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Somebody got to explain Hulk to me now because he's a mystery now. But yes, in Shang-Chi, he's in Bruce Banner form, and I couldn't tell if his arm was burned, but it is in a sling.
It is in a
so
sling.
it is
Yeah.
damaged. It is damaged, but I didn't know if it was burned at all or not. Like if it still had the burning marks on.
In this trailer, it doesn't look like he has a burnt arm anymore.
Is his arm like so? There's no scarring or nothing on his arm.
No,
from what you can see, no. Interesting.
But this is a character I really like from the comics. So and she's a very funny character. So I think there's going to be a comedic aspect to the show. And it is a character in the comics that breaks the fourth wall, much like Deadpool. I don't know how much of that they're going to put into the show, though. Like, I don't know if that makes sense for this character in the Marvel universe to be sort of like a Deadpool equivalent. But
so she's not going to be like staring at the cat or the audience and saying stuff?
No, but the first shot in the trailer, she does a yoga pose where she looks up straight into the camera. So maybe
that's what it looked like. Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know how the rights work with Hulk characters. But I guess like maybe TV isn't part of that, and so it seems like Marvel has full rights to She-Hulk, but not Hulk. Also, Namor is in the mix in there, and some other characters. So it's very interesting to see like how they're handling all that. But I know Mark Ruffalo has been wanting to do more Hulk stuff, but he's like, I can't unless it's with a team stuff, so we can't get like a full Hulk story. So I think this is their way of introducing more stories from the Hulk side of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
But also bringing in She-Hulk, because She-Hulk is a huge Marvel comics character that they're finally bringing to live action. So I'm excited for that.
On the nerdy side of things, I'm really sad that Tony Stark is gone, because I think it would be really cool if we could actually do a Fantastic Four movie right. I think that'd be cool to add that into the MCU, and I would love to see like Bruce Banner, Mr. Fantastic, Tony Stark, and Rocket all get together. I think that'd be
Rocket
cool.
Interesting, because for me it would be those characters, not Rocket, but Professor Xavier, Black Bolt, Namor, T'Challa, all forming like the biggest minds, and Beast forming the biggest, smartest minds in the Marvel universe to form the Illuminati, which is an actual thing in the comics.
That's pretty cool. Is Black Panther really smart? I didn't know he was a genius level. I thought it was well in this one. It seems like they make it more Shuri. Though they make it more of his, in the MCU, it seems like it's more of his sister.
She's definitely the bright one in the family. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was also going to add. I was also going to add her into that.
But I don't. In terms of what the group does, I don't think Shuri is fitting for that role in the same way that T'Challa is.
I just think it'd be cool with Tony and Bruce in the room, and then I feel like Shuri would kind of bring the vibranium into that a little bit, and then just sort of like, I don't know, I feel like there'd be some tension there, and then Rocket would be like tension and comic relief.
Here's the thing about the Illuminati. So this is so I'm like I'm just a big fan of the group in the comics. Even though it's like a short period of time and like little glimpse of how they operate. They try to prevent threats, like based on what they know, like, okay, this thing is definitely a threat, we need to be prepared for it, or this thing's going on, we need to solve the world's problems and protect the world in secret. Nobody else can know. We have the brightest minds, we know what to do. But they fail at it every time, which I think is funny. So the brightest minds just try to do like the best thing. Like we need to prepare for this threat. They go at it and then they make things worse. Not to mention that, but the egos kind of f- like they kind of go against each other. But the biggest aspect of those, like that group, is just the history in the comics, the tension between Namor and Black Panther, um, which I thought was it's one of the best. Like there's Charles Xavier and Magneto, and those kind of like rivalries in the comics, but I like there's very few with this sort of the tension and conflict between Namor and Black Panther, and it sucks that we're not really going to see that fully play out in the movies. Though I think Marvel has plans in place to work around that for the Marvel universe. So I'm like that's something that I'm hoping happens. But yeah, the if we have some sort of reference to the Illuminati or some sort of formation of it, I'm excited for it. I realize it's a dumb name. I get it, but the group itself is really interesting group.
Doctor Strange part of that group. I didn't know if you
Yes,
said his name wrong. Okay,
completely
I
forgot.
was.
And if I remember correctly, Doctor Doom.
That sounds familiar. I don't really know this group exactly you're talking about, but I feel like that sounds familiar.
Mhm. So She-Hulk. I'm excited for that. Then we got our look. Now here's gonna be like the controversial thing. Here's our look at Miss Marvel. And I know you've been playing Avengers, so I think you have a good idea of who Miss Marvel is.
Yeah, yeah.
And have you seen this like teaser trailer for Miss Marvel?
No, but I'm excited now though because now that I actually like finished playing as her. Who is the actress there? She looks familiar.
Well, I don't think she's really been in anything. Does it say in the description?
Never mind. I already know who I was thinking of, and I was thinking of the girl who's in Hawkeye. I was thinking of Kate Bishop.
Uh, um,
Yeah, she's obviously not.
no.
She's obviously not Miss Marvel if she's Kate Bishop, so it's not the girl I was. Yeah.
This is a character I love from the comics. Uh, just from when she was introduced to where I last read, because I'm way behind on comics, to be honest. I don't know where Marvel comics are right now. Um, but I've been really looking forward to this. It looks like they get a lot of aspects about the comics introduced into the show just from the brief teases, which I'm
Yeah.
excited about. The one thing though that kind of bugs me cuz I feel like it's so important to the character in the comics is that they're changing not only her origins but also her powers. Um and I don't know how I feel about that. I
Yeah.
do trust in Marvel. I trust in Feige. So whatever they do, I'm just assuming it's all going to be the perfect decision. But I'm a little bit skeptical, just a little bit. Um,
Did they say
her
how much of her powers are changing?
so I think from what I would assume, I would guess the decision to do this. I don't know. Maybe it's for the story that they're trying to tell, but I'm guessing because they're trying to introduce the Fantastic Four soon, that her abilities are too similar to Mr. Fantastic, that they wanted
Yeah.
to change it up or make it a little bit unique for this character in her new show so that she stands out. I don't know if that's the case or not. It could be something different. But instead of growing and stretching or changing her size or changing her she can change her look as well. So I don't know if that wasn't really brought up in the games. She can shapeshift. Um, like
Mr. Fantastic can do that too, can he?
I guess so. But
They
so
get-
she can like change. So in the comics, she first like she was thinking of Captain Marvel when she went through her change. So
Yeah.
she took on one of her old costumes as Miss Marvel back when she was known by that, and she had turned her hair blonde and her skin white, and her body which changed as well. So she kind of like took on that form of Carol Danvers to an extent.
Yeah.
Um, to which they changed that in the comics. She's like, I should embrace who I am, like uh, like my race and my culture and everything. So she doesn't really do that much in the comics anymore from when I last read. Um, but I don't see any of that in the teasers. It's very brief glimpses that we get of the show, though. I can understand why they didn't want to go that route with her abilities. In terms of her shapeshifting and all that stuff, it seems like instead she's doing some sort of Green Lantern esque power where she has like these sort of like a jewel um like energy thing that she's doing, so she can like have like a projected fist instead of like a grown one that she can use. So it's sort of similar powers, but it's not really. It looks like it's a complete change up of her powers.
That's what I was gonna suggest too. I was like, if they're gonna make it kind of like that, where it kind of looks like her things look slightly different
Yeah.
but similar. Because I was like, I just didn't know how to describe it, and but yeah, the what you just said makes sense. Kind of like a Green Lantern ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in another shot, she's reflected in windows in a building where people are looking up in the sky at her, and
Hmm.
she's just walking on air. So she's way up in the sky just running. So it looks like she can like whatever she's projecting on her feet, she can just walk across it.
Right.
So that's new too. I've never seen her do that in the comics. Um, but her origin in the comics is she's an Inhuman. It's a huge part of her story in the comics, and I know why Marvel wants to stray away from Inhumans. They left a really bad taste in everybody's mouth from the TV show. Um, but I think they handled the sort of like the Inhuman, like introducing the Inhumans in Agents of Shield really well. I think they handled what being an Inhuman is and all that stuff.
Right.
But I can see them wanting to shy away from Inhumans, and just the fact that they haven't introduced Inhumans in the Marvel universe, it's kind of weird. It's kind of in the same way where they have Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver introduced as uh people with special abilities, but they haven't introduced X-Men yet. So it's weird that they would call them mutants. And also they didn't have the rights to mutants at that time, but to fit the story, they were characters that were experimented on, right? So I don't know how they're changing that aspect of this story, because I thought this was going to be their entry point into reintroducing Inhumans into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a rebooted way, because this was their big name character to do that. Instead, it looks like they're dropping Inhumans altogether and changing how she gets her powers. I have no idea how they're going to handle that.
Um, I'm not sure exactly how they're gonna handle that. I think they're gonna. I don't think. I don't know if I should say if it's what they're gonna think or what I would prefer, but Inhumans are too close to mutants, and then you have people who were experimented on, and people like just it's like too many people are getting powers from different ways, so it almost seems too to me. It almost seems too easy, and I'm not a fan of that in like comic book stuff because I like people being kind of like having something like not maybe not traumatizing, but something happen to them where they gain their abilities. So just like getting it or being born with it, it's not like a huge thing for me. Now, Inhuman, like I was the only thing I know of them is from the game where and it like it's kind of like an explosion sort of happens and it's like different chemicals and that's how there's a few different Inhumans that get their powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now is that the only Inhumans that that are in like comic books, or are there other events that create Inhumans?
It's primarily the use of the Terrigen Mist.
Okay.
I don't know if there really is other ways to go about it. I will say
Yeah.
Inhumans have a lineage and history with the likes of Eternals,
Yeah.
Thanos, Celestials, just like other aspects of the Marvel universe that we already are introduced to in the movies.
Yeah.
So it is weird that they're just skipping over that whole aspect of the comics and changing over important characters like Miss Marvel to to fit the cinematic universe. Because there are other big characters in the comics that are Inhumans. So and I can guarantee you Marvel will try to introduce them in the movies, and just ignoring the Inhumans in the movies to change all those characters. I get it, like you can reintroduce them as mutants. I feel like that's not going to work for every character though.
Yeah, I like that the MCU grows and it expands, but I like stuff separate too. Because if we're like, uh, my childhood heart will be broken if they introduce mutants now, and I'm like, there's no Tony Stark and Wolverine button heads that we won't see. There's no Captain America,
Yeah, it's
like
for me
Steve,
it's Captain America and Wolverine because they
yeah,
have the
like Captain
bigger
America.
history.
I mean, I know there is a Captain America now, but I meant like Steve. We won't see Steve Rogers
Mm-hmm.
and Wolverine butt heads now, like that. Like that's the kind
We
of stuff
could
that I
see
want.
we could see the Winter Soldier and Wolverine. Like they might have a
Yeah,
history in the movies.
yeah, absolutely, and that'd be fun to see too. But I don't think it'll be Hugh Jackman.
Oh no,
He
yeah,
might,
for sure no.
yeah, he might come back for that only, but I don't know. I guess you could put Logan in a different timeline with the multiverse now, but I just for now I'm okay with mutants not being part of the MCU just because of characters that my childhood would love to see is not there, so it doesn't do much for me. Like I have no interest seeing like Wolverine or Professor Xavier interact with She-Hulk or Moon Knight or Eternals. Like that doesn't do much for me. So
I
um,
am the complete opposite. I'm a huge X-Men fan, so they're like one of the top Marvel Comics characters for me.
yeah,
And as much as I love the Fox movies, there are problems with the Fox movies, and I feel like it's time to move on. And I am excited for what the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of these characters are, and I
right.
can't wait to see them. So yeah, I'm all on board for introducing mutants as soon as they can, and however way that they want to do it, as long as it makes sense. Um, so I don't want those characters to be separate. I do want them in the universe. So yeah, I am for sure ready for it.
Yeah. And I don't mean to say I don't want to see them. I'm just okay if they're not. But like if they are, it's just
Yeah,
going to be a whole bunch of more movies and TV shows to watch. So I mean, either way, as a Disney fan or as a Marvel fan, I'm gonna get content. So
yeah.
fine. So
And for me personally, so like I said, I love the Fox movies. I think the first X-Men movie came out. I've watched that movie religiously. I just always watched it. It was like one of my favorite movies. Um, for me personally, I don't want any aspect of the Fox movies anywhere near the
yes,
Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want them to start fresh. And I get that there was that cameo or Easter egg as Evan Peters was as Quicksilver or a fake Quicksilver in WandaVision. I was fine with
yeah,
that because that wasn't actually the Fox universe spilling into the Marvel universe. That was just a joke Easter egg. Stuff like that I'm fine with. But
absolutely, yeah,
I don't want any, like, I don't want Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I don't know if there's anyone who can top his portrayal of Wolverine in the movies, but for
yeah,
me personally, I want them to start fresh. Get a new actor. They're not going to play the role the same way that Hugh Jackman did. They're going to play a different Wolverine. that is going to be perfect for the MCU version of Wolverine, and that's what I
Right.
want personally.
Yeah. I'd be fine with, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you're right. I think part of me is just like, if they were gonna happen, it should have happened already. And now I don't want like Hugh Jackman, and now I'm not gonna see Hugh Jackman and Tony Stark. I'm not gonna see or Hugh Jackman and Tony Stark. Yeah, I said the same thing twice.
Hugh Jackman, Tony
What's his
Stark,
name? What's his
Wolverine.
name? Wolverine and Tony Stark. I'm not gonna see Wolverine and Steve Rogers. So like, I'm not seeing the ones that I want to see. So um,
You always
I'm
have the
okay.
comics for that though,
Yeah, exactly.
or what if?
Start over, or leave it
Mm-hmm.
alone then, because I don't need to. I don't want to see like all the other characters that we've seen play in it. They're good. Like, some of them are good, but they're not MCU quality. I
Right.
don't think so.
We got other stuff announced for Disney Plus Day. I'm going to take off the context rectangle, visual context rectangle. I need to take off the filter so it's not blurry. But we got we got another animated show announced, X-Men 97. Now this is going to be somehow a continuation off the old X-Men 90s cartoons.
Right.
So I don't think this is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's weird that it's like this is a Marvel Studios X-Men animated movie with all these other Marvel Studios shows set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's weird that that's the outlier. But cool. I did like a while ago. I started rewatching those shows because they were on Disney Plus. I don't think they hold up. They're actually really hilarious to watch because of censorship back then. Uh, they just always wanted their characters, like whoever was writing the show, they always wanted their characters to have guns. Like so many characters have guns, and they're using guns to shoot people as like a plot device. But because it was a kids show in the 90s, they couldn't actually use guns. So everybody, even just everyday citizens of the earth, had these space lasers that didn't actually hurt you. Like they shot them, the character's like, "Oh," and then they get back up.
Imagine if we just had guns all the time. Like, I'm just sitting here doing a podcast and like
Yeah.
take a sip of my coffee, and then like, with either hand, like, I have a laser one
so
just all the time.
so that yeah, no, that show's funny to watch now. It's hilarious. So I mean, I'm interested. I might try to like finish the show. It's hard to get through. Like I got to be like in the mood for it. But that's like a one off here. Echo was announced. I don't want to give
Is it a
anything
movie?
away for Echo for a very
Yeah.
specific reason, which you will understand soon. But it is a really cool character. So I'm excited. Echo is coming to its own Disney Plus show. I'm
Sure.
excited for that. Yeah. Spider-Man Freshman Year, another animated show, which I think portrays what happens to Peter Parker before being introduced in the MCU. Which is interesting because we never got the Uncle Ben story. We never got like what happened in his first year as Spider-Man. So
So we're gonna see the Tom Holland Spider-Man and how he got bit. That's what we're gonna see.
yes, so we're gonna
Okay.
see his. So I think it's gonna be a limited series. I think it's just gonna be like a one-off animated series, just explaining what happened to Spider-Man, which I'm fine with.
I'm fine with that too, because I was tired of the story being told all the time. I enjoy
Mm,
the story, I like it, but for the MCU, we didn't need, Homecoming didn't need to have, we didn't need that again.
yeah,
So it's nice that they just didn't do that, and they just went on with with Tom Holland Spider Man,
yeah.
and it'll be cool to see what they do with his. So
And I think there's so many Spider-Man villains and side characters that I want to see in in a way that's not from the comics. Like I want to see them interpreted in these animated form, a TV show, a live action movie. The problem with Spider-Man in a movie, with it's understandable why Spider-Man has a movie because he's arguably the biggest character in Marvel. But
right.
um, so you want to capitalize that off that and have a movie for that character. but there's so many characters that just get left aside because it's a movie, and I feel like it kind of fits better to get all these characters that work so well in this sort of form better as a TV show. It's be better to introduce those characters. So having an animated show set in the first year of Spider-Man being Spider-Man, the like lower level side characters that they wouldn't put in the movie to be introduced that way, I'm happy about that because I definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
Then we got Agatha, House of Harkness, which that one surprised me. But because Agatha Harkness in the comics, I think is a forgettable character. I don't think a lot of people ever think about her in the comics. But
Pretty
just
forgettable.
because Catherine Hahn did such a good job with the character in the show, they're deciding to do another show.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I wish I could say I was excited because I love all the stuff that Marvel does, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they'll do a good job with it. I just didn't care much about WandaVision. I liked what it
Really?
gave. Yeah, I liked what it gave us, and I'm glad it was only one season because that's all it needed.
Mm-hmm.
I just found
Oh
that
yeah, for sure.
Agatha, not like on my list of villains, Agatha might be at my very bottom of villains that I care anything about.
I
So
I
to have,
think the only reason I cared about the character was because of Catherine Hahn.
yeah,
Because I love the character in the show. I thought she did such a good job with it. She had me laughing so many times. I one thing I will recall from an interview with Kevin Feige on how this role happened was I guess Catherine Hahn was talking to them about something else, like she was just visiting Marvel and all this stuff,
yeah,
and they were like showing her around, talking to her about stuff like maybe potential future projects, maybe they can be in conversation, whatever. But at the same time, they were writing and trying to cast for WandaVision. Like, oh yeah, we just talked to Catherine Hahn. It was a great meeting. It was really cool. I'm glad I can talk to her. Anyway, who are we gonna find to play Agatha Harkness? So it just kind of like happened at that time.
yeah,
So I just think that's interesting. That led to her getting her own show. So that's pretty cool.
yeah.
We also got Marvel Zombies. So we're getting more
Animated,
zombies. Animated, yeah.
animated, yeah, awesome, very
Now
cool.
I
I'm
don't.
excited for that.
Do you think this would continue off of What If, or do you think it's going to be its own show?
I could take either. I'm gonna go with it's probably gonna be its own thing.
I
But
hope so.
if Marvel wants to, if Disney just wants you to keep watching as much of their stuff as possible, they'll make it a continuation. So people who didn't watch What If have to go back, watch that, then go back to watch this. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with it being its own new thing. I'm okay with it being a continuation. I'm cool either way. I feel like the last one just jumped with everybody being bitten so quickly that there wasn't room for like a story. So this could open that up, so we could just maybe do the same story but slower. So either
Yeah,
way,
for me, I personally, I would want it to be its own separate story.
good. That's
Like
what I would lean towards. Yeah,
I'm hoping they do the Warner Brothers DC route and actually put the comic story into an animated form. Like reinterpret it if you want, but I think those comics were so good. I mean, they weren't like amazing comics. It's just interesting. It's just as much different take on the Marvel characters in a zombie form. Um, that I think that would work well as an animated show.
hmm
So I hope they take a different route, but yeah, it's hard to say because all of the stuff so far is set in the MCU.
yeah,
I guarantee you X-Men 97's most likely not going to be in the MCU. So I think that leaves some leeway for Marvel Zombies to branch out from the rest of these as well,
yeah.
but it's hard to say.
And I'm fine with that. Like you
Yeah.
said too. Now, because in the little 30-minute clip we had of the zombie episode, so many characters either died or were bitten right away, and we didn't really, it was just so much to cram into a like a
Yeah.
was that 30 minutes,
Well,
20 minutes?
here's what I'll say about the comics. It's not about the characters that survive. It is about the zombies, and
Yeah.
they have some sort of cognizance in the comics, where they have full on conversations and they know what they're doing and all that stuff. Really, I think the only major character that's survived in the original comics from Marvel Zombies is Black Panther and Magneto. So like they're the only like living characters, and everybody else in the world are zombies.
How does Black Panther survive over Doctor
The
Strange?
same way that was portrayed in the What If animated series,
Oh,
where not Vision but Ant-Man, not Scott Lang but Hank Pym,
yeah,
was keeping him alive to feed himself so that way he can think, because when zombies are fed, they can think better.
yeah.
So he just takes off a little nibble of them at a time so that way he can think and try to work on fixing the zombie problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Then we have What If Season 2. We already knew that. We have I Am Groot, which I think is also an animated show based off Baby Groot.
Is that coming out this for Christmas? I feel
No,
like I saw
so the
that for
one
the
that you're
holidays.
thinking of is it's not a series. It's a short.
Christmas
It's
special?
it's a Christmas special. Guardians of the
Okay.
Galaxy Christmas special. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
This I'm cool with. This will be fun.
yeah.
It'll be
Uh
enjoyable. I don't know who wouldn't like this.
the other two things, Ironheart. Me personally, I am super stoked about Ironheart. For me in the comics, I never really got hooked on Iron Man comics just for the team up stuff and the crossovers. I've really liked the character. It wasn't until Michael Bendis introduced Ironheart into the Iron Man comics is when I got hooked on that side of that universe. So introducing a live action version of Ironheart, I am so excited for.
Is
Um,
this going to be a movie or a TV show?
TV show.
TV
All
show.
these are
Okay.
TV shows. Yeah.
And Ironheart is his daughter.
No.
It's not his daughter.
No.
I see. I was under the impression it was going to be his daughter, and I was really excited for that because I was going to say the same thing as you. I'm super excited for this, but I thought it was going to be like later in the future when his daughter is like a teenager because it makes sense that it would like what is the story behind her quickly kind of about Ironheart in the
Ironheart,
comic.
smart kid, who takes on uh the mantle of Iron Man after he passes away.
She uses an Iron Man suit too and like reactors and stuff. Does she use his tech or she builds her own stuff?
She primarily builds her own stuff, but
Yeah.
I think it's inspired by Iron Man.
Okay. I'm excited either way. I think it'd be cool. I like the idea of the name too, because like Tony had the
Yeah.
whole doesn't have a heart thing, and
I don't know
you know,
how political they will get into the show. It is a very political origin story, based off current American events. She is a African American kid who has had several losses due to gun violence in her life. So it will be interesting how they're gonna put that take into the show.
yeah,
So
cool. I'm excited.
the last one on this announcement is Secret Invasion. This was a story I thought they were going to get into in Captain Marvel, and I don't know how they're going to get here based on where the MCU is at now. Because
So lots to do with Krill or not? What are they called?
Skrulls
Skrulls. Thinking of a different game.
in
Skrulls.
in the comics, sort of like where the Kree and the Skrulls are at in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now,
Yeah.
are like the opposite of what they are in the comics.
Okay.
So in the comics, the Skrulls are the biggest pieces of shit in the universe that just everybody hates, and they're
Yeah.
vicious, they're mean, they change shape and try to infiltrate planets and like and they have a very big vendetta against Earth
Seems like
and humans.
It turns out they were misunderstood this whole time,
Yep.
Till.
So they're just refugees in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that. In the comics, Kree have I mean there is sort of this similar aspect in the movies, but they do have like a lot of positive relationships with other characters, other races. They do team ups. They have like a good understanding and stuff like that for a lot of like big Kree characters and a lot of big human characters and other planets and races and stuff. Um, in the movies and the TV shows and everything I've ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they are just the biggest dicks in the universe. That's all I've ever seen them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's I don't know. I just find that fascinating how they just reverse all that for the movies. So I don't know how they're going to get to the point of Secret Invasion. And based on the characters and the actors that are starring in the show and where the movies are at right now, much like Civil War, I think it's going to be a completely different take for the cinematic universe. So I wouldn't go based off the comics at all. I think they will take inspiration from the comics, but it's going to be its own complete different story that we're not going to be expecting. But it is a huge story in the comics, much like Civil War.
I think my top three on here that I'm excited for, probably Ironheart, Moon Knight, and Marvel Zombies. But now I'm pretty excited for Secret Invasion.
Yeah,
I am Groot. I'll enjoy and Echo. You said you can't tell me much about Echo. What is it from? Is it from Hawkeye? Is it mentioned in Hawkeye? Is that why you said I would find out soon?
So my favorite three are Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and Ironheart.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
It's got to be the way it looks. It looks like something from Eternals. So.
Oh shoot, you know what? I forgot. I completely forgot. We need our visual context rectangle back before we can continue.
Yeah.
So we have not seen Eternals yet.
That's correct.
Since doing our last podcast, there have been trailers and clips and stuff for Eternals. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I've watched the trailers and stuff for Eternals. Yeah, it looks very exciting. There's a lot of hot, well-known actors in that one. There's the Kit Harington? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Kit Harington, the guy who played his brother in Game of Thrones on there. Angelina Jolie, and there's another guy in there that's can't remember his name right
There's
now.
a lot of actors in here. Camille Nanjiani.
Right.
I don't even remember some of the other ones. There's a lot of big name actors though. I'm excited for this. I don't know much about Eternals, to be honest. So I'm mostly going in blind to this movie.
Yeah.
I do have I feel like they show too much of the movie so far. I can kind of get a good hint of what the movie is and where it's going to go. I will say, based on feedback and reviews, this seems like the most contentious and controversial Marvel movie. People seem to really love it because it's different, and other people seem to think it's the worst Marvel movie ever made. It is currently the worst reviewed, critically, I think, Marvel movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I think the user reviews are different. But from what I hear, going into this movie, you should not be expecting a typical Marvel movie.
Yeah.
You might expect a good movie, but don't go in expecting that it's a typical Marvel superhero movie and expect something else. Just like a big movie with big name actors, with a high concept that makes you think, I guess. I don't know how much of that is true. I haven't seen the movie, but so that's my mindset going to the movie. I'm not seeing a Marvel movie. I'm seeing just a big action movie. It might not even be a big action movie. It's just like a big, high budget movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited for it either way. I'm going to see pretty much everything Marvel makes for the most part. I'm excited for it. Um, yeah, like I said, I heard nothing but bad reviews for it as well, but I'm excited either way.
Yes. Okay. So we don't have much to say until we see the movie. So
Yeah.
that's what that is. A movie that we did see that's not technically in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but maybe that we have a lot to talk about, which is probably going to be like the rest of this podcast. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's about all the time I have, so I'm glad we're
yeah,
ending on this because like
I'll try to like rapid fire some of this other stuff so that we're not like hinging on it. Um,
yeah.
we saw Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot to say about this movie, so I don't know how I'm gonna summarize it. But what did you think about this movie?
Uh, felt like I watched the short version of a movie because it was only about an hour and a half.
It did not feel
I
that way.
I think. Yeah, it was. I think when I looked at it, it was maybe an hour and 40 minutes, and that's with like credits and everything. So the movie felt like it was like an hour and 20 minutes long,
Thank God it wasn't any
and
longer.
no, I love Venom. I love Carnage, and I
Hmm.
did not. I I enjoyed pieces of the movie,
Yeah.
but I felt like I enjoyed like the trailer more than I enjoyed the movie because the
Oh, I
movie just felt
hated the
like it
trailer.
jumped from scene to scene. Like it was
Yeah.
literally like, we gotta break this guy out of prison, and then like it showed a guy breaking out of a prison. I'm like, you didn't even show you getting there. Like, how did you get there? How did you break in? Like, I didn't get to see any of the action. It was like Marvel didn't want to put the time.
It's
Like
not
they put,
Marvel.
yeah, well, it's,
Not Marvel. In association
so
with Marvel.
yeah, yeah. Is it Sony?
Yes.
Sony. It felt like Sony was like just got too exhausted with doing the visuals, like doing the CGI
Yeah.
on Venom and Carnage. That they're like, let's just end the movie. I don't feel like doing this anymore. It felt
I
like they took the short approach to this movie. It was so jumping from scene to scene, and like the villain Carnage. What's the guy's name?
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy. He was very okay with a new entity uh, being a part of him. Like I was like, there was no mixed emotions with the
Yeah.
alien joining you. He just, I don't know. The movie just went and then was done.
Yeah. I will say I think Sony is known for stepping in and like um not letting directors have creative control and everything. From all the interviews I've seen with Andy Serkis, this seems like the movie that he wanted to make. I don't think, because I think Sony's just like, Venom is a big seller, whether it's good or bad, so just roll with it, and whatever you do is fine. This is just make us money. So I think this is the movie Andy Serkis wanted to make. Unfortunately, I had a lot of high hopes about this movie. I think I was in the minority for most people. I liked Venom. My brother loves Venom. Because he watches it all the time. I thought the movie was okay. I will, like, I'll do a rewatch maybe once in a while. I don't mind rewatching it. It's not a great movie. It's not like a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. But I thought the take on Venom was fine. So I was looking forward to another Venom. I was fine with Sony making its own Spider-Man universe with that Venom. So I was excited with where they were going with it. Then they announced Andy Serkis as the director for the sequel. I said, you know what? This should be really good. Then the first trailer came out, and I was not hyped for the movie. Second trailer came out. God, this movie looks terrible. Okay, the reviews start coming out, and people seem to like it or hate it. Much like the first Venom movie. I don't know why so many people loved or even hated the first Venom movie. Um, I don't understand anybody who would like this movie.
My friend told me that this movie was better than Venom, and I'm like, well, yeah, because Venom wasn't very good. And I agree with you. I
Yeah.
think Venom. I know Venom isn't a good movie, but I will go back and watch it because there are elements of it that I enjoyed and I
Yeah,
liked,
it's
and it's
fine.
subpar.
Mm-hmm.
But this is dog shit. This is not good. This was I felt like I watched the trimmed version of the full movie. Like this was Justice League, and we need like Zack Snyder to come in and give us the 4 hour version of Venom and Carnage and fix this because this was not good. And I enjoy the first Venom way more.
Yeah.
The first Venom I can watch again. This one, I hope nobody asks me to watch this again. It was not great.
There are some big implications towards the end credits of the movie on how this affects even the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, so like I wish I could just ignore that part of the movie out of my brain, but I can't. It's there. So this is the elephant in the room, unfortunately. The positive thing I will say, or I think the one thing that sums it up for me, what I do like about the movie, Carnage was visually represented very well, looked frightening as he should, and I did like the look of Carnage. I'm not a fan of the character in general in the comics, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I thought putting him to screen how he looked was fantastic. So I thought Carnage was really well done for the movie. I don't think Cletus Cassidy was. I thought they did a awful job of putting Cletus Cassidy in this movie. If you don't
Yeah.
know, if you haven't seen Venom Let There Be Carnage, I know we were spoiling a lot for you. You don't need to watch this movie. But Cletus Cassidy is the host of Carnage. So it's not Andy Serkis. What's his name? What's the actor's name? Woody Harrelson.
Woody
Woody
Harrelson.
Harrelson's character Woody Harrelson's a good actor. I thought he would be fine as Carnage in this movie. And again, Carnage was perfect, I think, in how he acted, how he looked, very much representative in the comics. Cletus Cassidy, like Woody Harrelson playing Cletus Cassidy, like what is this? What am I watching? So that's my thoughts.
I was gonna say all the same thing. I love Woody Harrelson. I think he does a great job. I think some of it was just the writing for him
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
because I think he could have done a much better job with the writing because I did not like Cletus Cassidy. The visuals, I don't know what it is. Maybe I haven't seen Venom in a while, but I think Venom looked better in this than he did in the first one.
Yeah.
I thought his eyes were fixed in this one. I think his eyes look better. The whole overall, he looks way better, and I loved the way Carnage looked. I thought Carnage looked sweet, and I was waiting for that him taking over the host scene. I was like, it's gonna be emotional because like Cletus Cassidy's gonna love it, but also not know what's going on. He
Mm.
might hate parts of it. I thought it was gonna be awesome. Like I thought it was just gonna be a whole bunch of like chaos, and we got none of it. We got none of that. It was just Cletus Cassidy. Carnage took over, did his thing, and then they were like, "This is awesome." And I was like, "That's it? That's all you have to say? What just happened? You guys
Mhm.
are just gonna work together now?" There was no in between, no nothing. It was just like, "You want to work together?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow, that's it. That's not what I expected a serial killer and an alien team up to be. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be. I wanted something more, and they gave us nothing. So, wasn't a fan of that. The visuals were nice for what we saw, but like the action scenes weren't stupendous. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't
So that's what we have to say for Venom Let There Be Carnage. I want to rapid fire some stuff here, and then we're gonna decide how we want to end this. First of all, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has started filming, so that's cool.
exciting.
They had some like casting announcements and stuff like that. So very much looking forward to that movie. I have a lot to say about how that movie got delayed and all that stuff, but that's not going to be the time for this podcast. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania wrapped filming, so hopefully we'll see some stuff out of that movie soon. And there's new dates for Marvel movies. I was going to like list off the different dates. We're not going to have time for that. It is on Marvel's website. There's also a ton of news articles. If you just search Marvel release dates or go into Wikipedia, you'll see there's new dates for everything. I think Doctor Strange is out on my birthday now. There's always a Marvel movie on my birthday, except the past 2 years where Black Widow kept getting delayed. But it's usually always a Marvel movie on my birthday. So I think it's Doctor Strange this time. So I'm excited for that.
Now, hopefully, we don't go back any stages on the COVID topic of things, and we can go watch a freaking movie in theaters.
We will see, because Omicron might be changing things by the time Spider-Man No Way Home comes to theaters. So, yikes. Then here's the big thing, and I don't know how deep you want to get into this. Black Panther 2 has production delays, or could face production delays. Primarily, originally we thought it was because there was some sort of injury on set. However, it seems like that was dealt with quickly. The big issue on the topic of COVID and Omicron seems to be Letitia Wright's stance on vaccinations. She's apparently not vaccinated, and she's made it very public she's against vaccinations in a very transphobic video posted with just fake information on her Twitter, which she was heavily criticized for.
That's Shuri?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That's yikes. I didn't look into it, but that's not good.
What do you think if the whole thing hinges on her not being able to get to set because she refuses to get vaccinated? What do you think the outcome needs to be here?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want anyone to replace Chadwick Boseman. I love him as Black Panther
Now,
so
she's not
much.
replacing Chadwick Boseman. She might be replacing the role as Black Panther, like the title. But she's because she's the natural in the character arc, and in the comics, her character is the natural next progression.
Right, I was just saying, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to see anybody replace Black Panther. So if someone was going to take up the mantle, I want it to be Shuri, because it makes the most sense. And you could do either or. You don't have to kill off Chadwick Boseman. You could just say that he's doing stuff. He decided to take up the mantle of king and be there for his people and stay in Wakanda and do stuff because of everything that, maybe being dead for 5 years took a toll on him. Who knows? Whatever. Or you can write him off that he died. I prefer not, and just do that, and then Shuri becomes Black Panther, and then there you go. But if she's not going to film because of not wanting to be vaccinated and all these other things, I don't know what. I don't even know. I don't have a substitute for that, because I don't want someone to replace her. And then we also, trying to figure out what we're doing with. That's two people in the Black Panther.
Yes, but completely different reasons, though.
Right, yeah. So I don't know what we do. I don't know who. Does somebody replace Shuri? Does somebody replace her? I guess.
I don't think. I think the character of Shuri stays. Because here's the thing: the movie has to have been completely rewritten and changed and everything for the death of Chadwick Boseman. It does not need to be that case for Letitia Wright.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So are you saying that someone else can just be Shuri? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the thing: Letitia Wright, great actor. I love her portrayal as Shuri, and I would love to see her replay the role. But for what this whole history has taught me, she is, as a person, garbage. And if she's not willing to do her job, but consider this: Chadwick Boseman, still alive, has a condition that would have been highly vulnerable to a deadly virus like COVID, which Letitia Wright, not being vaccinated, much more likely to spread. For the anti-vaxxers in the comics, in the comments, yes, I understand COVID can spread even among vaccinated. It's a much lower risk involved, and the fact that she's willing to put her co-star at risk, would he still be alive today? And she's putting other people in the production at risk for that.
Yeah.
for her own petty reasons. Um, Recast her, fire her.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think she should be recasted.
Yeah.
It's her own
I
fault.
don't want her to be recasted.
Me
I
either.
wish to avoid that. But if you're not gonna, everyone's doing their part in the last 2 years to
Hmm.
make it safer. And if you're not up with the times, unless if you have a medical reason as why you can't get vaxxed, if you have I don't know, maybe it's personal to
According
you,
to
something
her,
happened to your family, who knows? But
yeah.
if you're making a public post that you just are against it without any facts or medical experience or medical facts, like anything like that to support your thing, then I don't know. Disney could probably move on without you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You got it better than most people. If you're gonna flush down the toilet, then there it goes. There goes your opportunity. So
Okay. Do you have time for one of these two things? Because we won't have time for both.
sure.
Do you want to do
What's that?
the topic Spider-Man No Way Home or what you just watched, the trailers for Morbius?
Ooh. Let's do Morbius.
Okay.
Spider-Man No Way Home I'm excited for, but we could talk super long about it with
Yes,
multiverse
that's what I think.
aspects.
I think both of these we could talk a lot about, but I feel
Yeah.
like Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be like its own podcast.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Okay, so
We
let's
could
get.
maybe when we talk about No Way Home, we can both watch Eternals. So we'll do Eternals and
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Eternals and No Way Home podcast. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Okay, so Jordan just watched for the first time both Morbius trailers.
Hmm.
First of
They're both
all,
excellent.
I feel the same way. I'm super excited about this movie. I feel like we're in the minority. Everybody I see reacting to these trailers say, "Oh my god, why is Sony doing this?"
Yeah.
And who cares about Morbius? First of all, fuck you. Morbius is a great character, and I'm excited to see him on screen. And I think Jared Leto is a great casting choice for him. And I think these trailers, uh, I think are so well done. The music choice is great. Like it gets me hyped. Um,
Hmm.
and I get that Morbius is not like an A tier Spider-Man villain, and not a lot of people are aware of the character.
Oh, he's a Spider-Man villain. I didn't know
He is a
that.
Spider-Man villain. Yeah, that's why Sony has
That
the
is
rights
cool.
to him. Yeah, but
I didn't know
he is still a big Spider-Man character, and he's a great character
that.
from the comics. Um, so I think these trailers got me hyped. And prior to Venom, Let There Be Carnage, I was excited for Sony's direction for their Spider-Man characters. I was totally fine with because I felt Marvel has so much on their plate. And from what I want out of Spider-Man and Spider-Man movies and TV shows and stuff like that, I knew we were not going to get that full focus on that character through Marvel Studios. So I was fine with Sony making their own separate universe with other Spider-Man characters that we would not get to see in the MCU, um, and flesh out their universe and stuff. So I was excited for Morbius, Venom, Black Cat, Silver Sable, Craven Hunter universe with maybe its own Spider-Man or another type of protagonist because there is a Silk TV show that they're sounds like they're working on. So I would be excited for Silk to be the hero of the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, now renamed Sony's Marvel Universe or something like that. Which thank God they changed the name. So I was excited for that. Then the Morbius trailer happened, and where the fuck does this movie take place? So you notice the first thing you noticed in the trailers was Michael Keaton's Vulture at the end teaser of the movie trailers.
Yeah, I
So
noticed him. I was like, okay, Vulture's in this, which
yeah.
actually should have been my thing that he was in Spider-Man's universe, but I thought it was just MCU shout out and
Hmm.
how they were going to combine them. So yeah, I noticed Michael Keaton's Vulture, but it looked like he's wearing a lab coat. So is
No,
this before?
he's wearing the white prison outfit at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming.
I forgot what their lab coat or their not lab coat. I forgot what their jumpsuit color was in that. So I thought he was in a lab coat, and I'm like, who was Michael Keaton before you? was in that construction company. I'm like, okay, is this like prior? Okay, so all right, so he's in a jumpsuit, so that's very cool. My thoughts on the trailer. Um, I thought it was visually beautiful. I thought it looked really good. Now I kind of think I know what some people are talking about. I'm not a fan of Jared Leto. I don't really like him as a person. Don't like him as an actor, and I didn't like his portrayal of Joker at all. It's my least favorite Joker I've ever seen, and that's not entirely his fault. That was the writers as well.
Mhm.
Um,
David
but
Ayer, the director too.
but watching this, I thought he looks really good for this role. Like I think I don't know much about this character, but it looks really cool. The visuals look really cool. His eyes, his powers. I thought they did a sweet job on that. That looks amazing. And I'm
Mhm.
not it's like for the vampire-y type stuff I don't care
Yeah.
about, and this looks cool.
Now, so they're implying like this is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and like I said, I was happy with this being in the Sony universe and fleshing out its own universe. But then they had the Michael Keaton role at the end. It's like, all right, this is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Uh, I think Sony has a great relationship with Marvel. A lot of people are like, oh, Sony's going to try to force their way into the MCU where it's canon, but it's not really canon. For me, I think they have a great relationship with Marvel. They, as part of their contract, they have to let Marvel know what they are doing in their movies, as evident by the Sony email leaks that happened before they put Spider-Man into the MCU, which kind of resulted in Spider-Man coming into the MCU. I don't know if you know about that full story. I can tell you that in a future podcast.
Sure.
Um, but yeah. So setting this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm happy with that. This is a vampire-like character, and they're going to start introducing Blade soon. That will be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. But is it set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because in a frame where he's walking down the alley, just right here, I just showed it. Uh, he's walking down the alley. There's a Spider-Man mural behind him, or like a paint or something in the alleyway, where it shows Spider-Man and it has the word murderer on it. So again, that's evidence that it could be set in the MCU because at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home, Spider-Man's accused of killing Mysterio, which everybody thought was a big time hero. So they think Spider-Man's a murderer. Okay. But that Spider-Man in the picture there is in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man outfit, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man outfit from the original Spider-Man trilogy. So, that's not Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's a different Spider-Man in that picture. For me, and by the way, the image used is a screenshot pretty much from the PS4 game using that costume. So you have several worlds in there where it's Morbius, but also Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but also the PS4 Spider-Man, but also Tom Holland's Spider-Man, all in one scene. Uh, so for me, I think that was just like an Easter egg or something. It could be changed by the time the movie comes out, or it's just like a funny reference that can be excused later. So for me, I was like, you know what? This is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everything else is pointing that it's set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a year ago. This first trailer came out. There's been several interviews and corrections and everything about the movie since that trailer. One of the actors says, yeah, this is definitely set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then Sony says, no. This is set in the Sony Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And every time an interview comes up or any sort of information about the movie, it's always conflicting. And I'm like, I don't know. I keep getting more questions about this movie than answers. And it's frustrating. I'm like, and then they're like, oh, new trailer's coming out. This was this year. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I want to see more context of what this movie is. And again, the trailer, fantastic. I loved it. But it's also frustrating because you noticed this as well, right? They used that same shot. They also had another scene with Michael Keaton's Vulture in there. He was wearing the same sort of outfit, but he had like a different dialogue. So that's the same sort of conflicting information we already know. And then you notice at the end, what did he say?
Oh, I can't remember what he said. I just watched it, so I gotta watch it. I'm probably gonna watch it a few more times.
Okay.
Just I forget what I forget what he says.
Where the one character asks, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And he says, "I am Venom."
Oh, that part.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
I thought you were talking. I thought you were talking about the end
yeah.
when Michael Keaton and Morbius talk, and I was like, I can't remember what they said to each other. Yes. No, that part is ridiculous.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So it's like, okay, so this is set in the Venom universe and not the MCU? Or is Venom also set in the MCU?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we talked about Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage. We talked about that earlier. At the end of Venom, I don't know if we fully got it. Did we
We
talk
didn't.
about?
Let's get into it right now.
You want to get into it now? All
Yeah.
right. So at the end of Venom: Let There Be Carnage,
Mm-hmm.
there is a scene where Eddie Brock is sitting in. It seems like a hotel or
it's like a really beat up, shitty hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was at the beach too. So was
It's
that
like a beach. It's like a beach resort. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a resort. I think he got away just to relax or whatever at the end, and him and Venom are just sort of bonding and finally getting along with each other. And all of a sudden, the whole room changes and it like vibrates, and then on the TV pops up the news guy from the Daily Bugle. Do you remember that
J. Jonah
actor's name?
Jameson.
Yeah, he pops up and he's
From the
talking
J.
about
Jonah Jameson. Well, let's be clear.
right.
Not the same Sam Raimi one. The one from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Far From Home version that J.K. Simmons plays.
Yeah, and he is on there and he is talking about Tom Holland. Spider-Man is now unmasked and everybody knows who he is. And it ends with Venom popping out of Eddie Brock and then licking the TV screen and something about him or something like that. So
yeah, that guy, he looks delicious or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a scene there where it puts Venom into the MCU.
Yeah.
And somehow immediately when Peter Parker's on TV, Venom comes out and licks the screen. So Venom is somehow, I don't want to say connected to Spider-Man, but somehow immediately intrigued.
He got put
him.
into the MCU, and Kevin Feige confirmed in interview this was a joint idea or collaboration. Yeah. Putting that version of Venom, unfortunately, in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I always had a feeling that would happen. I don't feel like that needed to happen the way that it did. I thought there's nothing in the Venom movies, as far as I could tell, except for the Daily Bugle as a paper in the second movie. But again, if they were planning this, they could have worked around that for the second movie by making it a fake news show. But otherwise, there's nothing in those two movies that really contradicted the MCU. You could have had Venom set in San Francisco in the MCU. He didn't need to be transported into the MCU from another universe. If that was the case, I would be completely fine saying, okay, Morbius exists in the MCU and so does Venom. But now, Venom did not originally exist in the MCU. He was put into the MCU. And Morbius somehow takes place in the MCU, but also Venom's universe at the same time.
My thoughts on it is I feel like it's a way of putting the way they did it. Like they could have easily, because there's nothing, like you said, that contradicts it. You could have just had Venom. You could have had just like in the second one, be like, okay, we want to put him in the MCU. Cool, let's put on TV. Let's just put that same newscast on TV, showing the Spider-Man thing. You could have put something that says like, after half the population disappeared from the blip, we have, and then you could have just had something like that, and you could have put that in, and no one would have really, been like, oh, when does this take place now? And now we know we're in the MCU. But I feel like the way they did it by putting it in the multiverse, they made it so that now if they don't like it, or if it's not good, or if they want to fix it somehow, we can just
forget it.
well, yeah, like you can. I don't know what's going to happen in Spider-Man: Far From Home, but
Yeah.
when with the multiverse that we know is like coming to, I know in we're not gonna talk about Spider-Man because I'm sure we'll talk about more like the Venom
Mm,
and Spider-Man we talk about
yeah.
together. But I think that Doctor Strange says we have to take the people who are invading our world and send them back. So maybe there'll be a small bit where Venom is in that, and then we just kind of get rid of
Mm,
them. And same with
yeah.
Morbius. So maybe Morbius and Venom are together, and they somehow blood into our universe now with the multiverse, and then they won't be here long. But
Yeah.
that's just I don't know. It could be maybe they're here to stay and there are gonna be more movies with Venom and Spider Man, or maybe it's just gonna be a temporary little shout out and then we're gonna get rid of them after another movie. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that just throws a wrench in everything. There are other like subtle references people are pointing out that it could be that there could be references still to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, such as the font of the Daily Bugle and all that stuff. But I think that
Yeah,
was consistent with some like Venom and even the Amazing Spider-Man movies and everything.
yeah,
I don't think you could really pick apart the Daily Bugle logo. I think that's just like a side thing, or whatever. Um,
yeah.
so I don't think this has anything to do with Sam Raimi movies. I think those are just like fun little Easter eggs. This could be in Venom's universe slash the MCU slash either slash both. Um, but I think the thing that really throws a wrench into everything, there are a ton of references to the Amazing Spider-Man universe with Andrew
Yeah.
Garfield that you probably didn't pick up on watching it the first time.
The
But you'll
Morbius trailer?
notice, yeah,
Yeah, no, I
you'll
didn't I
notice it
didn't
in rewatches if you're like looking at stuff in the background. First
yeah.
of all, there's an Osborne building in the background that
Oh yeah.
uses the same logo from the Osborne building in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It's a different building. I don't think that matters though, because it's Osborne. You can have like the corporation. They can have multiple buildings. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's the same, the exact same Osborne logo from
Hmm.
the Amazing Spider-Man movies. There's a newspaper reference to not only the Black Cat, which was going to be introduced in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and the character Felicia Hardy, was in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 as um, Harry Osborn's assistant. So the
Yeah.
Black Cat was in those movies, even though she wasn't the Black Cat. There's
Hmm.
also in that same paper a reference to the Rhino. It was a kind of tongue-in-cheek reference, but
Yeah.
it was still a reference to the Black Cat and the Rhino in that newspaper, with the Osborne building, and I think there was something else that was referenced to it. Um, there's an Alchemex building which was never portrayed in any iteration of like live action for Spider-Man. Um, Here's the thing. My crazy theory. I think it is very possible this movie and Venom take place in the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movie universe.
Oh yeah.
And through whatever multiverse shenanigans the MCU is doing, Venom is transported into the MCU and the Vulture somehow gets put into this universe, or Morbius gets put into the MCU, like near the end of the movie or somewhere in
It's
between.
it's all gonna be twisted because then Tom Holland's on the camera now
Yeah,
too, or on the TV. So
but I
it's
think I think there's potential to
yeah.
have a Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man characters coexist in different universes,
Yeah.
where Sony gets to play with their own Spider-Man and Marvel has their own Spider-Man,
Yeah.
to flesh out their own movies, and keep renegotiating those contracts so that they can keep using Spider-Man in their movies. Or something happens, and because the rumor is that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to make some sort of appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. That's what the hope is, I guess.
Yeah. I
Um,
I think they're in there.
Yeah, me too. It's like the world's worst kept secret. Um,
Yeah.
but I think if that were the case, there may be the if my theory holds, which it very likely might not. I'm just going based on two trailers that really like scramble my brain trying to understand this
Yeah.
and trying to put all the pieces together. It's possible that in order to put transition Tom Holland back to Sony, so they don't have to keep renegotiating contracts, and Sony just gets Tom Holland. They can use Tom Holland in their universe.
Yeah.
Uh, have it where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man dies in Spider-Man No Way Home,
Yeah.
and uh, they put Tom Holland Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, where they continue to flesh that universe out with Venom and Morbius and Kraven the Hunter and whoever else.
Yeah. I think a missed opportunity they did with Tom Holland though was after Homecoming
Mm-hmm.
when Tony Stark leaves the Stark Tower. I thought that was they should have done like Spider-Man's next movie, or sorry, yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming when Tony's leaving Stark Tower. Uh, I think it's a missed opportunity. They should have had something like at that time about Osborn buying the building, and then some more of Spider-Man's movies could have been Spider-Man fighting.
Do you think
Um,
Osborn bought Iron Man's building?
that's no, I don't know if he did or didn't. I just think it's a missed opportunity that they didn't mention it in there, saying like, "Oh yeah, we're moving the tower because Osborne Corporation bought it
I
off of us."
see. I feel like they didn't mention who bought it on purpose to leave
Yeah,
it open in
yeah,
case, like, for whatever the future holds for their other movies. Because I think number one theory is that uh, it's now the Baxter Building, which is the Fantastic Four building.
oh okay,
There's also theories for other characters. Kingpin is one of them.
yeah,
Like, Kingpin owns the movie, or owns the building. There's, I guess, Alchemex could be one. They showed Alchemex in the um, Morbius trailer. There could be. There was one in the Loki show where they showed the like all the end of time where stuff gets thrown to that the
yeah,
TVA erases.
right,
One of them is the Avengers building, but it has a different name on it. So they're thinking
oh
like maybe is that person bought the building.
yeah,
So there's a lot of different options available to who actually bought the building for Stark Tower. Um, so I don't think it's 100% Osborne, and I don't think they wanted to commit to that. I think they wanted to leave it open just in case they decide later how they
yeah.
want to fit that story.
And that's fair too. I was hoping to see just like Tom Holland. Now that we have like a Spider-Man that it seems like we're sticking with, it would have been cool to see him like
Yeah.
fight, more villains coming from Oscorp. Like if they did like a Scorpion, or Rhino that wasn't a mechanical suit, I think it would be very interesting.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have. We went way over what we were hoping to. But
And
next
just
time,
and just to add to this, I think our next one, like when we talk about Spider-Man, Far From Home, it's gonna bleed into this again. We're gonna
yeah,
bring up Venom from Carnage. We're gonna talk about more Morbius and stuff. So
100%, yeah. So
yeah,
the next podcast we do, we're gonna probably have seen Eternals. The cases are really bad here right now, so I don't know if I want to head into the movies. When does it come to Disney Plus? Maybe I'll wait till it's on Disney Plus. Eternals.
um, Shang-Chi is already on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
and
it's
it came
45
out.
days after
Yeah,
it's out of
it's
theaters, right?
45 days. So uh, Eternals came out the beginning of November.
Yeah, but I think
So
it's like after it's out of theaters or something like that. I don't
right.
remember.
Right. Yeah, I think so. So I'm assuming we could probably see, if I had to guess, I'd say we'd probably see Eternals on Disney Plus by late January, early February,
Oof.
maybe
Okay.
late February.
Hopefully we can go into the theaters and see it, and we'll have seen Hawkeye by then. So the next podcast we'll talk about Eternals, hopefully Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home, and whatever other news that Marvel is going to be introducing in between that time. For now, if you want to hear us talk about more stuff, we have some gaming podcasts you can check out. Hopefully they're up by the time I uploaded this. We talk about our Game Awards predictions, and what else was in that big podcast that we just did? We talked a lot about something else.
Yeah, I think the Game Awards we talked about, like Halo, Back for Blood, some Pokemon stuff, Nintendo.
Yeah, a lot of Nintendo stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
And then we have a separate podcast over on the Activision Blizzard controversy. There's actually 2 of them. You probably want to listen to those, catch up, because it's not over. There's still a lot more to come. Actually, I shared one thing in our Discord after we had discussed that.
Right.
So there was something like somebody left the company and they're talking about it. So yeah, it's still going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we will actually be live reacting to the Game Awards. If this podcast comes up after the Game Awards happen, our live reaction might be on YouTube, or it will be soon. So if you missed it, it will be available here. If you're into that gaming stuff. But that's it for us. I'm Til. This is Jordan. And we will see you next time.